I don't wish to sound imprudent or insensitive, Emma, but childbirth was a rather primitive method of reproducing offspring. When a woman could at last have children without undergoing physical torment, she readily chose a more humane method of bringing her child into the world. The answer was to end artificial wombs called baby incubators, though there was resistance to this method of having children. In fact, before the Great Catastrophe, there was a huge amount of opposition to non-natural birth, especially by religious groups. I believe that was even true in your own time. There were even protested artificial birth, arguing that viviparous reproduction was crucial to preserving human nature. After the great asteroid struck, enlightened thinkers took charge and things changed, which eventually resulted in minor genetic modifications that ruled out natural childbirth altogether. For Emma, Ames's words settle in hard. As she speaks, she can feel her heart rise in her chest and tighten at the base of her throat. The doctor's words describe the end of motherhood, though neither woman seems to be affected much by the idea. As the blood from Emma's face, and she reaches for her cup, she notices her hand trembling slightly. She takes a nervous sip of coffee and has trouble swallowing, realizing she's afraid to ask the next question, or rather, hear the answer. "You okay?" Bloom asks. "You look pale." "Yeah, okay. It's just that this is all kind of a lot to absorb. Also, it's making me start to feel a little like a freak." And the silence all around, so fucking swollen, isn't helping, she thinks. It's so unnatural. No wind, no bird sounds, no insects, no breeze to stir the air or rustle the leaves. The fucking sun itself seems half dead, its threads of light barely illuminating the pale blue afternoon sky. Even the water spurting from the fountain sounds muffled. "Emma, you're not a freak," Ames in her comforting big sister voice. "It's just that so much for you is new and different." "Still, I think that if I'm ever gonna make this my home, I'm gonna have to accept myself as like this alien creature. Not from outer space, for sure. Not from the future. No, the opposite's more like some creature from the Black Lagoon of the past. This shit's not gonna be easy." Ames and Bloom glance furtively at each other. Emma imagines they're trying to decide where to take the conversation from here. What more can they possibly say? Just one last thing. This might sound stupid, but other than for aesthetics, if there's no motherhood," Emma pauses and cups her breasts, "then why these?" She gives them both a squeeze. She's asked the question before, but didn't like the answer. Why in the fuck do women here still cart these around? I mean, aesthetics is a matter. Considering all the other things you've changed, it would have been easy to, scrap these. "Fair question," Ames says. Emma can see that Ames is about to laugh, but then restrains herself. "And one with a simple answer," she continues. "It's because women derive pleasure from having their erogenous zone stimulated, and enjoy nursing." "Nursing what?" Emma nearly shrieks. She couldn't have heard that right. Like, nursing android babies? And if so, where are you hiding them? I sure haven't seen any baby androids with milk-rimmed lips. Ames and Bloom wait for it to settle down. Judging by the tight curlicues at the corner of their mouths, they must find Emma's remark, though frantic, also somewhat amusing. Well, she can't blame them, she thinks. The image is pathetic. Her thoughts gyrate as she snatches for something to say. She thinks about apologizing for her sudden explosion. While ideas fly around in her head, she finishes her coffee. She's clutching the cup tight enough to break it in half as she stares into its empty depths, searching wildly for a satisfactory response. Several moments pass before her muscles relax enough that she's able to look up and speak in a calm, controlled voice. "Sorry, I didn't mean to lose it. It's just that I'm beginning to feel like I said, like a fucking freaky alien." Emma feels her eyes begin to tear over. Dr. Ames immediately reaches across the table and places her hand on top of Emma's, giving it a gentle squeeze. Emma, we will do whatever we can to make you feel more at home. But as I've said, adjusting to so much that is new and strange is going to take time. Please rest assured that we're here to help you. But how will I ever... You... Emma looks directly into Ames's eyes. She hesitates and then comes out with it. We're so fucking different. You don't even have sex. Not if what I saw in this movie is your version of sex. You don't even have sex organs, for Christ's sake, and I'm supposed to fit in? Her voice is nearly hysterical again. How's that possible? How is that possible? You gonna neuter me and sew me up? No, Ames says, but there are procedures that you could undergo if you choose, where you still have sexual experiences while removing assertive hyper-emotional elements once linked to reproduction. SLs, like yourself, when they came out of suspended life years ago, opted for genetic remapping procedures. And we do have sex, Emma. Most during orgasm happens in the mind, which then resonates throughout the rest of the body. When we engage in sex, we have orgasms similar to what women had hundreds of years ago. And even if what you say is true, what if I prefer a little assertiveness or aggression in sex and stay just like I am? Is there a problem with that? Would I need to have permission from the council to remain the freak I am? That is, if I choose to try to adapt to all this. I'm thinking I don't have much of a choice in the matter now, do I? Even if you don't, girl, you have promises to keep, she hears the voice in her head remind her. The women are as mute as the pollenless flowers surrounding them. Even the fountain's spattering water has been sucked into the blue silence. Finally, Bloom speaks, softly, carefully. Emma, I'd like to tell you about my fourth rejuvenation. I think it might help. I decided I wanted to return as a young man. But after my rejuve, I felt like a freak for months. Why? I'm not sure, really. Maybe I kept thinking of myself as a woman in a man's body, since it was such a big change for me physically. Maybe if I'd returned to when I was 5 or 6, things would have been different. But I wanted to hold on to some memories from my former rejuve. Anyway, by the end of my first year, I felt perfectly normal. It just took time to accept who I was. Bloom stops and waits for her words to settle in. So, what's your point? Emma's annoyed by the stranger's attempt to compare her situation to her own. That in the end, if I agree to having my female genitalia removed, everything will be just swell? That nothing really matters except fitting in? Feeling that I fit in? Emma, fitting in is a big piece of one's happiness, Ames says. No one wants to be a freak or feel like a freak. If you decide to undergo genetic procedures that would alter your phenotype, like the SLs before you, I believe you'll eventually adjust and stop thinking about who you once were, and begin to see yourself as belonging to an evolved version. And to answer your other question, no, you will not be forced to change or obtain permission from the council to remain as you are. That will be your choice. Look, Emma, Rebecca is right. You just need to give it more time, and then later you can decide. Please don't feel you have to make any decisions right now. You're going through some very major adjustments. I certainly don't envy you. Emma, again, Alice and I are here to help you, regardless of what you decide. Ames smiles compassionately. It's obvious to Emma that Ames and Bloom are sympathetic, but at the same time, perhaps a little too ingratiating. Although both of the doctors express empathy and understanding, she can't help but feel their eyes all over her again, searching for something. But what? A sign that she's acquiescing? That her will is caving? Maybe. Do they believe that her reluctance to change is to her detriment? This makes her feel slightly sick and extremely confused. She wants to like both of them. They come off as kind and caring and intent on helping her. But at the same time, their expectations may be too high. Thanks. I appreciate that, she says, trying to take control of her emotions while she swipes at the corners of her eyes and tries to smile. Well, ladies, what do you say we check out the saunas? Ames says with sudden gusto. Then afterwards, Emma, you might want to try one of our delightful massages. If you don't mind, I think I'll pass, Emma says politely, but thanks. I think I'd just like to return to the apartment and kind of chill. Emma feels that any energy she had before has drained out of her. Right now, no sauna or massage is going to pull her out of her emotional sinkhole, so she figures why ruin their afternoon. She sits quietly waiting for one of the women to reply as she lightly scrapes her spoon against the inside of the empty cup. Ames eventually speaks up. We also have a splendid gym with a pool and workout room. If you like, we could show it to you before you leave. Maybe some other time. She sets her spoon down on the saucer and rises. The women stand up facing her across the small table. No, I'm good.